you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s, Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
Crowd getting in it a bit already. Here's an early 3rd and 10. And this a leaping effort, but it's knocked away and incomplete.
That was their first 3rd down try of the game, and clearly something was off in the execution of that play. Good news, they've got a whole game left to clean that up and start clicking on those key 3rd down throws.
Wisnowski on to punt as he sends this one away. It's a 39-yard punt, and good coverage means a loss on the return. And the AFC will take over 1st and 10. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in a conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36, 16, and 2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
And he can't find anywhere to go with it, and he goes down. That huge loss on the sack makes this job much more difficult. It's now 2nd down and 22 yards to go. And some secondary help here for the defense in the nickel on 3rd and long. On play action, now Brady. Now he's going to let it go deep, back over the middle. And that will be incomplete. Well, they weren't scared to let it fly, but it falls to the ground and brings up 4th down. On is the Hall of Famer Ray Guy to punt this away on 4th down. Oh, and what a play on special teams here. This is going to be down inside the 5, all the way down at the 2-yard line.
And he's got to be fired up about that effort. I don't think he could have walked down and placed it any better than where he ended up putting the football. That was excellent.
The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. Well, they're going to have to go at least 50, 60 yards here if they want to ensure that they don't have to punt the ball like they did last time.
Yeah, so what you're saying is we're not playing to just get out of the shadow of your own goal line, right? You're playing to make sure the punter doesn't see the field again. So it's not picking up a couple of first downs. You want to pick up 5 or 6 first downs and make sure you move the ball into their territory.
So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon, and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
So we're through 1 at the Coliseum in Oakland. 0-0 our score. This is the John Madden Legacy game on EA Sports. And this one will go to the 28-yard line. But Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp, actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And it's there during that time, I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Doc Coryell.
Myles Garrett. That is now 2 sacks for him here in this first half. Hey, we want to let you know, give you a fair warning that coming up at halftime, the folks at EA Sports have put together a very nice package in tribute to Coach Madden. So make sure you stick around for that. Again, coming up at halftime. Just a 1-yard gain on the play, and that'll mean a call to the punt team as it's 4th down. Here's Mitch Wishnowski now. It's taken to the 26. It's a net of 40 there. A punt of 48 and a return of 8. And out will come the offense as they take over. The offense for the AFC set to go now. Tie ball game, still a little more than a minute to go in the half. The question, can they put something together here, try to take that lead into intermission?
I would have to think that would be the goal for sure. I don't think you sit on anything here. Here's your opportunity. Push it downfield. As you mentioned, it's a tie game. So minus a disaster on your part, you've got that in your back pocket. Go ahead and try and get some points and feel great going into the half.
Well, Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon. Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about to go on.
He's going to rifle one deep left side. And it is incomplete. Good positioning there downfield to break that one up.
Even without a ton of pressure in his face, it just shows how difficult it is to pick apart his own defense. Those guys are sitting back, and they're not playing receivers as much as they're playing the eyes of the quarterback and when he delivers the ball.
And that one into the hands of Brown downfield. And they're able to work this to the 25 before it's all said and done. Coming up in the second half, we'll run through John's post-coaching triumphs. But for now, we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley. The AFC going to get the football first here as we are back underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy game. Dante Hall going to bring it out of the end zone. And tackled at the 21-yard line, so a net negative there of 4 yards. The AFC offense set to take their next drive. And we thought this game had the potential to be tight, maybe not this tight, scoreless as we start the third quarter.
And I love the way you use the word tight. I'm going to take it a little bit different direction here because it's not just tight on the scoreboard. I think both offenses have been tight in how they've played this game. No one's been loose. No one's been free. They've got to find a way to make some plays, and I don't think you do it if you're really tight in everything that you're doing in the game.
To throw once more on 2nd and 10. Brady. High throw, but he makes the catch. And they're going to get this beyond the 40 before he's taken down. Play action. Now it's Brady. On the move to his left. And it's complete to Antonio Gates. And he takes this one down almost all the way to the 30. A very solid gain of 27. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42. He just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had, one that connected with everyone. This defense is just flat getting after it. They have not given up much of anything in the run game. Case in point right there.
Second down and goal. Brady. And that almost their first INT of the ball game. Had his sights on it, but he couldn't seal the deal.
We've seen these defenses make enough opportunistic plays to keep this one low scoring. Flying around, making plays on the ball, and we see yet another errant throw as a result.
Up the middle they run with Bettis. And he'll take this one down inside the 5 to the 3. It's about a 3-yard pickup there, but more importantly, they're still a few yards away here. It's now 4th down and goal. They'll go for it. It's Brady. Oh, not sure he saw the linebacker there as that's batted down and incomplete. An incompletion there on 4th and goal from the 3. And the NFC is going to get the football back. They start on the ground here at Sanders. And he's going to be taken down shy of the 5-yard line. All right, so they got that one, Charles, against the center.
And let's remember how difficult it is for the center, because remember, he's got to snap the ball to put the play in motion, and sometimes you got that big guy on your nose. You got sometimes where he's coming at you at an angle. It's a difficult job for him to snap the ball and then execute his block.
So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together. But how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
A nice return there of 11 to help mitigate a good punt. And it'll be a short field ahead as the AFC takes over 1st and 10. Now a play fake. Brady. This is caught. It's Brown. And he gets this one inside the 15, just a yard or 2 shy of the 10. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the All-Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
Possibly a turning point. Big play coming. This is 3rd and long. On play action, it's Brady. And that is caught for an AFC touchdown. Tony Gonzalez, a 14-yard touchdown. They're able to break the tie and move out in front here in this 4th quarter. Now Adam Vinatieri for the point after. He's got it to make it 7-0 AFC. A drive there of just 4 plays. And it ends with an AFC touchdown. And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. Hester going to decide against a return, and they will spot this at the 25. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. And we've seen drive after drive come up empty for them, and they've yet to dent the scoreboard, yet still right in the middle of a one-score game.
So this is where you absolutely have to forget everything that's happened in your previous drives. They don't matter right now. You just mentioned it. One-score game. This drive here can erase all of what happened previously.
Favre's throw pulled in by Kittle. 9 yards, and that leaves him just short, so it'll be third and less than a yard. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told them, call me when it's 11-on-11, and he got his wish.
Yeah, after that debut, Madden the video game continued to pick up steam through the 90s in a big way, and John himself, many will remember, was a commentator for the series for many years. And now here we are in the 2020s, and this game has sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million copies. Favre's throw here hauled in by Cup. So, CD, you look at the accumulation of John Madden's achievements in the world of football, the coaching success, the Super Bowl title, the incredible career as a broadcaster with 12 Emmy Awards, Madden the video game. It was very fitting back in 2006 that John Madden got the call to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
A more deserving person you will not find. He gave an incredible speech on that day, Brandon. So many of his former Raider players were in attendance. He talked about how he envisioned that when the last person turns off the lights in the hall every night, that the bus talk football amongst themselves. And what a discussion that might be.
Yeah, he finished his speech by saying, today feels like the second time in my life. And it's caught. It's a touchdown. So they rally here in the final minute, and they're an extra point away from tying this game.
And while it appears the heavy lifting was accomplished by scoring the touchdown, they're still down 1. That extra point is not a gimme.
Don't forget the extra point. It's up and good. And we are tied here in the fourth quarter. So the drive goes 75 yards, 10 plays. So all even at 7 now as they kick it away. And it's finished off by an NFC touchdown. And he will be brought down here inside the 20. Good coverage as he's dropped at the 17. The offense for the AFC set to go now. And Charles, obviously not much time left. I'm curious to see if there's enough for them to get into field goal range and try to win this thing.
And partner, you and I both know the safe calls to kneel and just take it into overtime. But it's also very tough to pass up a chance to win it right now as well. But remember, if you do attempt that, it's got to be a big play downfield and still leave yourself enough time to get your field goal unit out there and kick for the win.
Brady's incompletion on first down leads to a 2nd and 10. Sliding out of the pocket. He's going deep for Brown. And it's knocked away and incomplete. Well, these corners, I tell you, they've done excellent work all game long.
They remind me of guys in the past who just said, hey, throw it out here 100 times. Nothing good is going to happen. And if you throw it in the wrong place, I'll take it the other way.
Now a shot taken on 3rd down, but it's going to wind up incomplete. This defense looking impenetrable now. 3 straight incompletions. They're giving him nowhere to go with the football. Maybe a little frustrated back there.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. When you've missed on 3 straight, there's going to be some frustration. But now he's got to make sure that that frustration is temporary, not lingering. Big throw coming.
A leap, and he's got it. He got it. And he is going to be taken down with a big gainer there on 4th in the AFC. Going to keep the drive alive. How fitting is this? Extra football at the Coliseum. Let's just keep playing. Back underway in the John Madden Legacy game. And we will not see a return to start overtime. It'll come out to the 25-yard line. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. And everyone knows the OT rules, Charles, but pretty simple formula. They go down and get a field goal, we continue play, but if they can find the end zone on this possession, ball game over.
And as meticulously as all teams plan for a game, I don't doubt for a second on that offense coordinator's play sheet, he's got some overtime plays that he wants to run. I know it sounds crazy, but they plan for everything. 1st and 10 all the way throughout the game, 2nd and 7, whatever. Right now, he's looking at that play sheet saying, if we get to overtime, what can we break out that they haven't seen?
A tall task ahead of him here, needing a full 15 yards to move the chains. Now on 3rd and long, they'll look to throw. Left side here to Sanders. And he'll get this up past the 25 before he's out of bounds. And the NFC punt team out there now on for a very important punt here in overtime. So possession goes over here on the punt. And it will be 1st and 10 as they take over. The AFC offense set to take their next drive. Now their defense did the job, got off the field without giving up any points, and now, Charles, all they need here is a field goal, and they get the victory.
Yeah, and this is the way I love overtime. I'm one of those really old school guys that like sudden death right from the beginning. Well, we've got it now because any points wins the game. On defense, get a safety, a pick six, fumble return, you can win it as well. So I'm really looking forward to this series and see how both sides play it.
Now a man open down the middle of the field. He's at the 30, 10, 5, and he's into the end zone for the touchdown and the game winner in OT. Well, you never know what you're going to expect when you come to the stadium to call a game. Sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get bad ones, sometimes you get... So a thrilling finish here in overtime to a game that no one wanted to see end. And for all of us at EA Sports, one final look.